everyone, you're welcome to my channel. This is Iglo Fashion. So today we'll be learning how to make this bustier straight gown with crisscross and a standing sleeve, as you can see. So if you gain from this tutorial, if you enjoy it so much, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any question, you can put it in the comment section. I'll be waiting there for you. So please like and share my video. Thank you very much. For this gown, for this straight gown, the measurement I'll be using is the bust is 10 inches. That's from shoulder to bust. Shoulder to under bust 13.5. Shoulder to half length 16. Circumference of the bust is 34.5. Circumference of the under bust 37.5. Circumference of the half length 30. Then the shoulder is 14 inches. The hip is 37.5, and the nipple to nipple is 6.5. I will use that for the bustier. The sleeve is, I don't really need the sleeve measurement because it's standing sleeve. So now let's get to business. Let's get down. This story, I'm making use of doll face to line this my lace. Then I'm using lining this wording for the bustier. Then paper stay as well for the bustier. Then for the standing sleeve, I'm making use of this collar stay. Now I folded my fabric. I folded it into 4. So I ensure one is longer than the other. You can see. So I'm using this side for the zipper allowance, while this will be for the front bodies. Then I'll go ahead to measure I'll subtract half length from the gown length. The gown length is 57, and the half length is 16. So 57 minus 16 will give me 41. Then that 41, I will add 1 inch for my seam. So that's going to give me 42. 16 to 41. So I've measured the 57, which is the gown length, plus 1 inch seam allowance. Then I will determine the hip on 24 inches. Then the new length, I'll determine that on 34 inches. So I will roll it out very well. Then I'll measure the circumference of the waist, which is 30 inches. I'll measure 30 inches here. That's 30, I folded it into 4. 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. Then I will add 2 inches for my seam allowance. Here on the hip, I'll measure the circumference of the hip. That's 37.5. So that will give me, let me just use 36. Let me use 38 rather. So that's 9.5. Then plus 2 inch seam allowance. That's going to give me 11.5. So at the new length, I'll minus 4 from this hip. Depends on your choice how tiny you want that place to be. So now 37 minus 4 will give me 38 minus 4 will give me 34. So 34 will give me 8.5. Then plus 2 inch seam allowance, that's 10.5. Then the measurement I have here is what I'll transfer to this length. So 8.5, then 10.5. So I'll connect my lines. I'll go ahead and cut everything out together. After cutting it out from the main fabric, I will reduce this back measurement at the half length, knee length. So I'm coming in by 1 inch. That's just to give the back side shape, the buttocks area. So I'll just slant it to the hip. This is the hip. I'll connect it back, then I'll cut it out. I'm going to make use of the half length. The half length is 16 inches. Then I'll use half for my seam allowance. Then for the nipple point is 10. The underbust is 13.5. So I will first I will rule out my lines. Then I'll come up to this side and measure my the shoulder circumference. Shoulder circumference is 14 inches. That's divided by 2 will give me 7 inches. From there, I will come down with 7 inches for my armhole. Though after sewing, I'll still trim. I will reshape the armhole. Then on that, I will measure 4.5. So I'll come back to the nipple point and measure the circumference of nipple to nipple. That's 6.5 inches divided by 2 will give me 3.25. I'll chop that to the half length. On that, I will come out with half inch. That's on the nipple point. I'll come out with half inch, then link it to the underbust. Then the 4.5 I measured there, I'll connect it to that half inch. At the half length, I'll measure 2 inches. On the underbust as well, I'll measure 2 inches. Then here, from the underbust, I'll just give it a cuff shape. Where I measured to the 4.5, I'll measure another 3.5 from there. So I'll connect this cuff to it. Then slant it to the 7 inch I measured earlier. So the next thing I will do is, this is the normal measurement I measured earlier. So the normal measurement, I said the total circumference of the nipple is 8.5, which is 34 divided by 4 and plus 2 inches allowance. So I removed 2 inches from this side, so I will have to add it back to my measurement so that it can be accurate, it won't be short. Then I'll cut it out. Now I will notch the underbust of this, then notch the underbust of this as well. So when I'm joining, the two must align. Now let me cut the tube. I joined my front bodies together. You can see it's still in 4 pieces. I joined it together. Then where I want, let me cut the neckline first. So the neckline, I'm coming down by 4 inches. Then the width, I'm making use of 3.5. Then at the shoulder, I'll measure 1 inch. Then slant it to the neckline. Next thing is, I'll come down by
5 inches. So from that 6.5, I'll make a curve shape. To meet the bust point. This is the nipple point rather. So I'm coming. You can see the way I'm going about the shape. But before I cut that out, I will shape my armhole. Now I will shape my armhole. From there, I'll cut this out. So this, what I need in this is just a strap. So the remaining, I'm going to make use of my tool. I'm going to use tool for this shape. So it's only this that I'll use my fabric for. The remaining, I'll use tool for it. Now for the back bodies of the straight blouse, I'll measure 2 inches for my zipper allowance. Sorry, at first I will measure my half length measurement so as to know where I'm going to end my zipper allowance. Then add the half length is 16 inches. Then I added half inch to it. So the zipper allowance, I'm using 2 inches for it. So I'll connect the lines. And I'll measure my nipple point, that's 10 inches. The underbust, that's 13.5. I'll rule out everything. Come up here and measure the circumference of the shoulder, that's 14 inches. Divided by 2, that's 7.5. On the nipple point, I'll measure the circumference of the nipple point. The nipple point divided by 4 will give me 8.6 plus 2 inch seam allowance. Underbust is 27.5, but I'll make use of 28 to get a round figure there. That's 7 inches. Then plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then the half length is 30 inches plus 2 inches. That's 9.5. Then I'll connect the line. Then at the armhole, the shoulder, I'll measure the armhole. I'll come down with 7 inches. Then from that 7 inches, I'll measure 4.5. Then from here, I'll come in with 1 inch. Then I'll link everything together, the curve shape. Then the total I have here, 11 points. So I'll cut it out. After the zipper allowance, I'll measure the nipple to nipple circumference. That's 6.5, that's 3.25. That's for my dart. I'm going to use this for my dart. Then from the shoulder, I will measure 1 inch. On my neckline, I'm measuring 3 inches. 3 inches for the width, then the length. This depends on your choice. I'm measuring 5 inches for the length. So this 1 inch I measured earlier, I'm going to connect it to the neckline. That was where I left it earlier. So now I'll cut out everything. You know, the sleeve ended at the upper bust. The upper bust of this my client is 7 inches. So 7 inches at the front plus 7 inches at the back will give me 14 inches. Then I'll add 1 inch for my seam allowance. Measure, you can see I folded my fabric into two, so I'm cutting two at a time. I'm cutting the two sleeves together. So 14 inches plus 1, that's 15 inches. Okay, I have my 15 here. So let me get the middle of this 15 inches, that's 7.5. So the 7.5, I'm not going to make use of this rough edge. So from here, I'll measure 6 inches. The sleeve, the width of the sleeve is 5 inches there plus 1 inch for my seam allowance. So then I'm going to bend it like this. So that's the shape of the sleeve. Then I'll cut it out. Then I will notch the middle. Sorry, I've kept it 1.5. I'll notch the 7.5. So I'll cut facing for this now and add my collar stay. Now I've cut the collar stay for this shape. Then I've cut the faces, so I'll go ahead and I'll got my collar stay to the doll face. Then I'll got my paper stay to the lining.
Crisscross that is here. I measured from the under bust to the half length, but it's a bit longer than the half length. So the measurement I use is 9.5, but I added my seam allowance of 1 inch, so making 10.5. So the 10.5 and the width of it, I measured 7.5, though the actual figure I used is 6.5, then plus my seam allowance is 7.5. So on my, this is the 10.5 inches from the underbust to where the shape ends. So it's 10.5. You know, after sewing it will end up at 9.5. So I've added my 1 inch seam allowance to it. Then for the width, I use 6.5 plus my sewing allowance, that's 7.5, 1 inch for my seam allowance. So now I'll get the midpoint of this 10.5. I'll get the midpoint of the 10.5. So I'll just rule out that point. So the midpoint of this is the midpoint. Then for here, this 7.5 inch, the midpoint is 3.75. So this is it. So I'm going to connect my lines. So from here, I'll go this way. And from here as well. I'll just give this side off shape. So I'm going to cut two of this. So after cutting it this way, I'll just reshape this side because the down part is a bit smaller than the front side. That's why I'm coming in with half inch. Then so after this, I'll sew my bias this way, and I'll after stitching, like, I don't know, you can stitch as many yards as you want. What you need is just after stitching the bias this way, then you cut 1.5 inch for the holes there. So for this hole here, you cut your bias, you stitch it this way, then you cut 1.5 inches, then you fold, you stitch it to one side of this. Like I use 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, 9 on this side, 9 on this side too. So you stitch 9 of it here, stitch 9 of it here, then you use this, you stitch it this way. Can you see the way I placed my bias? It's facing the other side. So you stitch it this way, then it will stitch this two together. Then you open it up here and remove everything out. You open the middle part, then you stitch it on top of the clothes. It's not as if I fix this inside, I stitch it on it. Then this one, you just sew your bias very long just to make this particular row. Thank you.